Hi, I'm Nate Brill from Heroic Hollywood. Uh, I wanted to say that I really love the show. It's by far my favorite Marvel series on Disney Plus. I just wanted to ask you, how did you and Michael Waldron develop the tone of the series, and did you guys always have that tone specifically in mind?
Yeah, so it was interesting because I think when I first came in, I remember that the pilot script, I think it lent slightly more comedy. And obviously, I have a comedy background as well. And I think something we found was like, I did a lot of rehearsal with cast and actors. And when we were getting Tom and Owen to read, I think it became really clear to us all very quickly that oh, this is actually really exciting. Like, you know what I mean? Like the chess match between these two characters. And I think that it was that kind of balancing act that, you know, you have moments with someone like Casey, but the comedy is always coming from truth. Like, because I know I've worked in offices and being like, oh my God, I'm going to get in so much trouble. And I feel that's very relatable. But I think with Loki, just because I think you have to take what's happening to him in that time theater seriously. So I think the main thing was making sure it was always being led by his emotion and any comedy was coming out of, you know, the fish out of water situation that he was in. And I agree. I think you need those moments of lightness, but I think that in reading with the guys and just honing it in, it was something that was always evolving. And something else I would say tonally across the show was that when we were locked down, obviously halfway through filming, I'd filmed like, you know, not just under half the show. And I think that was something else that became very clear and a very unique opportunity was that I got to edit the footage we'd filmed. And I was kind of seeing in that, I was like, oh, you know what? The moments with heart in the show and drama, they are really the driving force of this. And then the comedy is such a nice relief to those moments. But there were just like these little nuances, you know, like when you see actors work, like I remember Woomy, like there were things in her performance that were so beautiful and coming through so much in the edit. And then they really informed like later stuff we did with her character. And I think that really for me was like tone management. I think you do as much as you can, obviously, as you go in and prep. And Tom always calls it synchronizing watches. And I think that was really key that like me, Michael, Tom, and Marvel were all wanting to tell the same story and it all had the same heart. But I really think tonally, I really honed that, I would say, with the team, like in the edit. I think that's where I started to be like, oh, okay, this is the stuff that's really singing. This stuff isn't quite landing. So let's, you know, when we go back to film after the lockdown, let's push some of the story a bit more towards this direction. So yeah, that's kind of how we ended up there.
Okay, so the series obviously exists in the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it also feels like its own thing. Was there anything that you guys wanted to add or do in the show that you couldn't?
No, I've been asked that. It's so interesting. I wonder if this happened on other projects, but honestly, like with our one, I think Kevin Feige was always like, look, like, you know, everything's on the table, and if it's good for story, we'll make it work. And if it's not good for story, then we don't do it. So I think basically the stuff that we wanted to add generally, if it was kind of, you know, working for the story and the overall show, then yeah, then I guess the ramifications across the MCU, other filmmakers, I guess, have had to sort those out. But yeah, no, I didn't feel restrained in any way by what I could use.
Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston's chemistry was downright amazing. How did you guys get Wilson to come aboard? What was that process like?
So basically, Sarah Finn, our casting director, when we were talking about Mobius, she'd mentioned him, and I love Owen Wilson. Like, you know, I think he's amazing as an actor, but I also love his work as a writer, like The Royal Tenenbaums and Bottle Rocket. Like, those are films that made me want to make films. And so, anyway, I had to phone Owen on my own. And I remember my heart was beating, and I was like, "Oh my god, this has to go well," because the whole team's gonna be like, "You wrecked it." So yeah, but he was obviously very charming, very nice, and it was the most detailed pitch I've ever done. Like he's, you know, very writer orientated, so he basically wanted to know every detail, the world building, Loki's arc, but he was honestly just really excited. I think the thing that made me excited just as a director was he was like, look, I want to do something outside of myself and something that people won't expect of me. And I think that for me, with someone as well known as Owen, is really cool because it's cool to be part of that, right? And I mean, even on set, sometimes he would come to set after work just to hang out, and he would have his blonde hair, and I'd be like, oh, I was like, you look so different, because I was so used to seeing him obviously with his silver hair. So yeah, I definitely feel that he's done something really special here. And you just don't know until you get the actors in a room, really, the chemistry they're going to have. But, you know, like Tom and Owen are very studious and very smart, but they also have very different acting backgrounds, which I think really complements their chemistry. Like Tom, you know, is classically trained and he's done Shakespeare, and Owen is, you know, he's from the indie film route. So yeah, I think it was really beautiful watching these two very different personalities come together, and I think in a way that's kind of what really complements their chemistry. So
well, would you like to return for a second season? Are you guys is there anything in the works with that?
Honestly, like my last day is next week, so all I have is like I'm just fully focused on season 1. I have to kind of put all my energy and heart into it just because I got to get it done. So
Okay, so my final question, this was like by far my favorite thing of the series. It's when Loki is looking for the Tesseract and he finds the drawer full of like Infinity Stones, and he kind of realizes that that's no longer the most powerful thing in the world to him anymore. Like now the Timekeepers are. Like, do you think that there's possibly even something beyond the Timekeepers that I guess Loki or the Avengers might have to take on next? Or do you think that the Timekeepers are end all be all?
The Timekeepers are end all be all. Like I remember reading that in the script as well, like when he opens the drawer, because that was in the pilot when I got it, and I was like, what? Like, you know, because I've been going to the cinema like everyone else and seeing this all build up, and I was like, they're paperweights. It's like, who are these people? So I was like, but in a way it was kind of fun because it kind of sets the table, and it's such a good rug pull, right? Because it shows you that, okay, all the rules that we have been following and theorizing on, they're completely different now. So I think that's really exciting. But no, I think the Timekeepers are all powerful, and yeah, I am afraid of them. What will they do with my destiny?
Well, thank you so much for your time, Kate. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and the show is really good.
Thank you very much. Cheers.